Shaun Cassidy was once one of the biggest teen idols in the world. Millions of fans screamed his name, posters covered bedroom walls, and TV screens lit up with his bright smile every Sunday evening in the Hardy Boys. But behind that charm and clean-cut image was a young man hiding a lot of pain. Cassidy had ideas that were far deeper and darker than what the network wanted to show. He once said he wanted the Hardy Boys to explore real-life issues like police brutality, drug abuse, and teenage trauma, but executives refused. They wanted fun, safe stories, not reality. Cassidy played along, smiling for the cameras, but something broke inside him. By 1981, he disappeared from the spotlight, walking away from fame completely. For nearly 40 years, he stayed silent. When he finally returned, he shocked everyone by turning down $15 million to reboot the Hardy Boys, calling the new scripts too childish. Later, fans began to rewatch the old episodes and noticed something strange: shadows, props, and clues that hinted at emotional pain beneath the surface. It made many wonder if Cassidy had been trying to say something all along, something the network didn't want the world to hear. Shaun Cassidy was born on September 27, 1958, in Los Angeles, California. His mother, Shirley Jones, was already a Hollywood star who had won an Academy Award. His father, Jack Cassidy, was a popular Broadway actor and singer. To the public, they looked like the perfect family, glamorous, talented, and successful. But inside their home, it was chaos. Jack suffered from bipolar disorder and was known for violent mood swings. He drank heavily, broke furniture, and sometimes scared his children with strange behavior. There were moments when he walked around naked or claimed to be Jesus, showing just how unstable he had become. When Shaun was only 16, his father had to be placed in psychiatric care after another breakdown. Growing up in that environment left deep scars. Shaun lived in constant fear, never knowing what version of his father he would see next. To make things worse, his half-brother David Cassidy was already a superstar, loved around the world for the Partridge Family. At home, Shaun felt invisible. He once admitted that David never gave him advice or support, even when he became famous himself. Their relationship was tense, filled with jealousy and distance. It was a family that looked perfect on the outside but was slowly breaking apart inside. Shaun's teenage years were filled with both privilege and pain. The family lived in a Beverly Hills mansion, but wealth couldn't protect him from bullying. At his private school, classmates teased him for being the son of a corny musical actress. They made jokes about his mother's movies and mocked her songs. It made him feel ashamed of the very people he loved. But nothing hurt more than what happened on December 12, 1976, the day his father, Jack Cassidy, died in a fire. Jack had been drinking when a cigarette fell on the couch, setting the apartment on fire. When firefighters arrived, they found his body near the door. He had tried to escape but didn't make it. Shaun rushed to the scene and saw the damage with his own eyes: the burned walls, the smell of smoke, and the body bag that held what was left of his father. The only thing left recognizable was a melted gold pinky ring. That moment changed Shaun forever. It became the start of a long journey through grief, anger, and guilt. That loss would later shape the darker stories he wanted to tell as a writer and producer. But back then, he was still just a boy trying to survive the shadow of fame and tragedy. After his father's death, Shaun's mother encouraged him to focus on work. She sent him to acting classes and pushed him to audition. He didn't get many roles at first. One casting director even told him he looked too sweet to be rebellious. But Shaun refused to give up. In 1975, while still in high school, he signed a record deal with Curb Records under Warner Brothers. His first single, Morning Girl, didn't do well, but the next one changed everything. In 1977, his song Da Do Ron Ron hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and stayed there for weeks. Overnight, he became a teen idol, selling out concerts around the world. His debut album sold more than 2 million copies. But fame came with a heavy price. His schedule was brutal, sometimes 200 shows in a single year, with only a few hours of sleep. During one concert in Germany, he collapsed on stage from exhaustion. Behind the scenes, his team staged fake romances and photo shoots to make him seem like a heartthrob. He hated it, but he was told it was part of the job. At just 18, Shaun was living every teenager's dream, but it wasn't his dream anymore. It was an image built for someone else. In 1977, Shaun Cassidy got the role that made him a television icon, Joe Hardy in the Hardy Boys/Nancy Drew Mysteries. The show quickly became one of ABC's biggest hits, with over 20 million viewers. Cassidy's clean-cut charm and friendly face were exactly what the producers wanted. But he wasn't satisfied. He wanted the show to deal with real teenage problems, drugs, family struggles, even crime in the police system. The network refused every time. They wanted fun mysteries, not social issues. Cassidy pushed anyway, rewriting lines and asking for more emotional depth, but the producers blocked his ideas. On set, things were difficult. The actors worked 18-hour days and did many of their own stunts. Cassidy once fainted from dehydration while filming. Then came scandals. Co-star Pamela Sue Martin, who played Nancy Drew, was being paid half of what he earned. When she posed for Playboy magazine in protest, ABC fired her immediately. Fans were furious, and the show started to lose balance. Cassidy also began getting frightening letters and even death threats from obsessive fans. One fan broke into his house. The pressure was immense, and slowly, his bright TV smile began to fade. As the seasons went on, the Hardy Boys began to struggle. Ratings fell, and the network made desperate changes. They removed Nancy Drew entirely and turned the show into something darker, focusing on death, drugs, and espionage. One season even began with Joe Hardy's fiancée being killed, changing the tone completely. Parents complained that the show was no longer suitable for kids. The FCC received letters, and sponsors started pulling away. Cassidy wanted to push even further into realistic storytelling, suggesting storylines about police corruption and teen addiction, but the network refused. By 1979, the show's ratings had dropped to number 92, and ABC decided to cancel it. Cassidy was devastated, but deep down, he wasn't surprised. He had already begun to see the limits of fame, and the way networks crushed creativity in favor of profit. The show's cancellation felt like freedom and failure all at once. He had become famous for something he no longer believed in. That frustration and sadness would later influence his future work, when he finally had the power to tell stories his own way. After the Hardy Boys ended, Shaun tried to reinvent himself. He went back to music, releasing albums like Under Wraps and Wasp, but none of them reached the same success as his earlier hits. Critics said his new style was too dark and didn't match his image. Warner Brothers eventually dropped him. Around this time, Shaun began acting again, taking roles in serious films and plays to prove that he was more than a teen idol. In 1981, he joined a Broadway production called Mass Appeal, hoping people would see his real talent. But audiences didn't want the new Shaun Cassidy. As soon as they saw his name on the posters, they left, expecting bubblegum pop, not heavy drama. Ticket sales collapsed within a week, and the show lost millions. Cassidy later said it was one of the most painful experiences of his life. He realized that fame can trap you, people only want the version of you that they fell in love with. For the next few years, he couldn't find steady work. Behind the scenes, his marriage was falling apart, and his personal life was filled with disappointment. The dream was gone, replaced by a long silence. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Shaun Cassidy decided to step away from acting and music. Instead, he turned to writing and producing. He wanted to control the stories instead of being controlled by them. His first project, a TV movie called Strays, 1991, was meant to be serious, but the network forced him to make it about killer cats. It flopped badly, and critics laughed. Yet, Cassidy didn't stop. He kept writing, learning, and experimenting. Then, in 1995, he created a dark TV series called American Gothic. It was the kind of show he had wanted to make years ago, creepy, emotional, and full of psychological depth. The story followed an evil sheriff with supernatural powers, exploring themes of good and evil, family trauma, and corruption. Critics called it one of the most original shows of the decade. But just like the Hardy Boys, it struggled with ratings and was cancelled after one season. Still, American Gothic became a cult classic. For the first time, Cassidy felt like he was finally expressing the darkness he had hidden for so long. He wasn't chasing fame anymore, he was chasing truth. As the years passed, Shaun Cassidy found peace behind the camera. He wrote and produced several shows, including Roar, Invasion, and New Amsterdam. New Amsterdam became a major hit from 2018 to 2023, airing for 5 seasons and earning praise for its emotional storytelling. This time, Cassidy had full creative control. He slipped deeper themes into a medical drama, stories about love, grief, and human weakness. Critics admired his work, saying it showed how much he had grown as an artist. During this time, streaming platforms tried to bring him back to his old fame. Netflix even offered him $15 million to reboot The Hardy Boys, but he refused. He said the new scripts were too childish and lacked the emotional truth that real teenagers experience. He didn't want to repeat the mistakes of his past. Fans respected him even more for that choice. Many began to rewatch the old episodes and noticed strange, dark details hidden in the background, newspaper clippings about crime, shadows shaped like faces, and scenes that hinted at deeper sadness. It was as if he had been trying to send a message all along, one that no one noticed until decades later. Today, Shaun Cassidy's life is much quieter. His net worth is around $20 million, but money is no longer his motivation. He says what truly matters is telling honest stories that connect with people. Looking back, his journey feels like a reflection of Hollywood itself, a place that rewards beauty and fame, but often punishes honesty. From a frightened boy in a broken home to a teen idol under pressure, and finally to a respected writer and producer, Cassidy has lived many lives. His story reminds us that even those who seem happiest in front of the camera can carry invisible pain behind it. He once said, "I was a teen idol. That has a short shelf life." But what truly lasted was his courage to tell real stories, even when others told him not to. In the end, the boy who sang to Do Ron Ron grew into a man who faced his demons and turned them into art. The Hardy Boys may have gone dark, but through Shaun Cassidy's truth, we finally understand why, when you grow up famous, the world never really lets you grow up at all. For Shaun Cassidy, fame had frozen him in time, a smiling young man with a perfect haircut and shiny eyes. But life doesn't stand still, and neither did he. As he grew older, he started to notice that people still treated him like the 18-year-old pop star he once was. They didn't want to hear about his pain, his ideas, or his new life as a father. They just wanted nostalgia, songs from the past, autographs, and memories that were never real. Cassidy once said in an interview, "Fame gives you everything, and then it takes away everything that matters." He explained how hard it was to build a real identity when everyone already thinks they know who you are. After his music career ended, he tried to disappear from the spotlight for a while. He focused on raising his children, writing quietly, and building something stable for the first time in his life. But even then, the ghosts of his childhood, the loss of his father, the broken family, the endless expectations, still haunted him. It was during this period that he began to write more seriously, not for fame, but for healing. Cassidy's writing became his therapy. He spent hours every day typing in silence, pouring his emotions into stories that nobody else might ever read. He said writing allowed him to talk to himself in a language only he could understand. One of his early unpublished scripts was about a young boy trying to save his father from madness, clearly inspired by his own life. Over time, producers began to notice his storytelling ability. Unlike most writers in Hollywood, Cassidy understood how fame could destroy people from the inside. His characters were never just good or evil, they were human, flawed, and frightened, just like him. When he pitched American Gothic, he told the studio that the show was about a good child trying to survive in a world run by darkness. It was more than just fiction, it was his life retold through a supernatural lens. Even though the show didn't last long, critics later called it ahead of its time. Many directors who came after him, including those behind Supernatural and Stranger Things, have said Cassidy's early storytelling inspired them. Without realizing it, Shaun